Welcome to the first chapter, chapter 1 of our lesson for this year. We have the quadratic equations, and the very first lesson in this chapter is solving quadratic equations by extracting square roots. But before going into this lesson 1, let's discuss for some concepts about quadratic equations. So when you say quadratic equation, these are any equations of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, wherein a, b, and c can stand any constant values such that a cannot be 0. Okay, so a, b, and c can be any real numbers, but a cannot be equals to 0, because when a becomes 0, the result will not be any more quadratic. So assuming that this becomes 0, so this term entirely becomes 0, and we are left with this expression, this equation. That means we are left with a linear equation, not anymore quadratic equation. These are some examples of quadratic equation. 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 equals 0. So let's try to um, identify the values of a, b, and c here. So the value of a is 2, the value of b is negative 3, the value of c is 1. And number 2, we have 3x squared minus 7 equals 0. So if you're going to compare this with this standard form, we will have general form. We have a equals 3. So as you can see, the bx part in this equation is missing. That gives us b equals to 0. That means 0x means that's 0. So c is negative 7. So we have here 4x squared plus 5x equals 0. A equals 4, b equals positive 5, not negative 5. Okay. So as you can see here, the c, the last term, the c term is missing. That gives us c equals to 0. So this is also a quadratic equation. 4x squared equals 0. That gives us a equals 4, b equals 0, and c equals 0. Let's just go back. Where is that? Is 2/3 or negative 2/3. In this one, the solutions are 2 and negative 2. 2 or negative 2. So let's try this one. X plus 1 squared minus 9 equals 0. So when in later lesson, we will also encounter this but using different method. But we can also, but for now, let's use extracting the square root to solve this one. Again, let's isolate the negative 9 by adding 9 to both sides. We'll have x plus 1 squared equals 9. Then that's the time that we extract the square root. Simply extract the square root here, then here. So we will have x plus 1 equals positive and negative square root of 9. That is x plus 1 equals 3 or negative 3. So our problem is the plus 1 for x, because we're not looking for x, the value of x plus 1. We're looking for the value of x. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this one. One is that equal to 3, and the other is that equal to negative 3. Okay, so this one and that one. So x plus 1 equals 3. Basically, that is x equals 2. And on the other side, x equals negative 4. So the solution is 2. The solutions are 2 and negative 4 of this. So if you're going to check, let us say 2, so you'll simply 2 plus 1 square minus 9 equals 0. So this becomes 3 square minus 9 equals 0. And yeah, that is 9 equals 0. That's 0 equals 0. Okay. So that goes the same with negative 4. suppose we have 2, quantity y minus 2 quantity square minus 32 equals 0. So the same, isolate the negative 32 by adding 32 to both sides. Okay, so here there are 2y minus 2 square. So we have, there are 2y minus 2 squares. So we're not going to use the concept of divide both sides. So there are 2y minus 2 squares. So in this idea, that idea. And the total value of this 2y minus 2 squares is 32. That gives us that each of this y minus 2 square, each is 16. Okay? Each is 16. So that gives us y minus 2 square equals 16. Then that's the time we extract the square root. Okay? Then we have y minus 2 equals the square root, the positive and negative square root of 16, that is 4 or negative 4. So again, the same with the previous example, let's get rid of the minus 2 because we're looking for the value of y. What do? We split. 1 for the positive 4 and 1 for the negative 4. So this becomes y minus 2 equals 4. Basically, that is 6. And on the other side, that is negative 2. So that's plus 2 and plus 2. Okay. The solutions are 6 and negative 2. So if you're going to plug in there, that will eventually give us a 0. So those are some equations that can be solved using extracting the square root.